the best way to start a new habit. In 2001, researchers in Great Britain conducted a study with 248 people over 2 weeks to help them build better exercise habits. The first group was a control group that simply had to track how often they exercised. The second group, called the motivation group, was instructed to track their exercise and read some books on the benefits of exercise. Additionally, researchers told them that working out reduces the risk of coronary heart disease and improves heart health. The third group received the same data and motivation as the second group, but with an added task. They had to create a specific plan for when and where they would exercise. To make this even more specific, each member of the third group wrote, "During the next week, I will engage in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on this day, at this time, in this place." In the first and second groups, only 35 to 38% of participants exercised at least once a week. The motivational presentation had little impact on their behavior. However, in the third group, 91% of participants exercised at least once a week. The sentence they wrote down is what researchers call implementation intentions, a plan made in advance about when and where to act. Numerous studies have shown that implementation intentions help people stay connected to their goals. Many people think they lack motivation, but the truth is they are not clear about their goals. Knowing when and where to act is not obvious to them. However, the first law of behavior is to make it obvious. Being specific and clear about your intentions provides practical cues for your habits and allows you to design a plan for when and where to act. The key takeaway is that having a detailed plan significantly increases your chances of sticking to a new habit. By explicitly defining the time and place for your actions, you turn vague intentions into a concrete plan, making it much more likely that you will follow through. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. At Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, a primary care physician named Anne Thorndike had a revolutionary idea. She believed she could improve the eating habits of hospital staff and visitors without changing their motivation or making any announcements. Along with her colleagues, she conducted a 6-month study to change the choice architecture of the hospital cafeteria. The first step was to rearrange the drinks. Refrigerators near the cash registers were stocked only with soda. They replaced the soda with water bottles, not only in the refrigerators but also at various food stations throughout the room. Soda was still available in the main refrigerator, but water was now accessible everywhere. Over the next 3 months, soda sales dropped by 11.4%, while bottled water sales increased by 25.8%. Similar changes were made to the food arrangements, and the results were consistent. No one noticed the changes, yet the impact was significant. Often people don't choose what to eat because they particularly want it, but because of where it is placed. Imagine you walk into your kitchen and find a plate of cookies. You might immediately start eating them, not because you're hungry, but because they're right there in front of you. Your habits can change in the same way, depending on where you are and the cues around you. Environment plays an invisible role in shaping human behavior. No matter how different our personalities are, some behaviors are automatically formed due to our environmental conditions. Unfortunately, the environments we live and work in often prevent us from taking specific actions because there are no obvious cues to trigger those behaviors. If you want to make a habit a main part of your life, you need to make the cue a main part of your environment. This means that to foster good habits, You should design your environment in a way that promotes them. For example, if you want to drink more water, place water bottles around your living space. If you want to read more, leave books in places where you spend a lot of time. By making small adjustments to your environment, you can create a setting that naturally encourages positive behaviors, reducing the reliance on motivation alone. The secret to self-control. In 1971, during the 16th year of the Vietnam War, Congressman Robert Steele from Connecticut and Morgan Murphy from Illinois made a shocking discovery that stunned the American public. While visiting the troops, they found out that almost 15% of the U.S. soldiers sent to Vietnam were drug addicts. Follow-up research revealed that 35% of the service members in Vietnam had tried heroin and 20% were addicted to it. This discovery led to the creation of a special action office for drug abuse prevention to help rehabilitate these service members when they returned to the U.S. Lee Robbins, a research director, proved that if there is a radical change in the environment, addictions can quickly disappear. The soldiers in Vietnam spent all their time surrounded by cues that triggered heroin use. The drug was easily accessible, the stress of the war, fellow soldiers who were also users, and the anxiety of being far from home and family. However, when these soldiers returned to the U.S., they were in an environment devoid of such cues, and their habits changed accordingly. This Vietnam study challenges many of our cultural beliefs about bad habits. Our culture teaches us that the solution to all our problems lies in a little bit of discipline. However, recent research has proven otherwise. When scientists observed people with strong self-control, they found that these individuals were not much different from those who struggled. Rather, disciplined people are better at life because they avoid tempting situations. People with the most self-control use it the least. If you don't need to exert self-control all the time, practicing self-control becomes much easier. In other words, our self-control does not eliminate our bad habits. Your energy should be directed toward optimizing your environment, which is more powerful. Make the cues for your good habits obvious, and make the cues for your bad habits invisible. This means that to foster good habits, you should design your environment in a way that promotes them. For example, if you want to drink more water, place water bottles around your living space. If you want to read more, leave books in places where you spend a lot of time. By making small adjustments to your environment, you can create a setting that naturally encourages positive behaviors, reducing the reliance on motivation alone. The second law, make it attractive. How to make a habit irresistible. In Dublin, Ireland, an electrical engineering student named Ronan Byrne loved watching Netflix, but also knew he needed to exercise. So, he came up with an idea. He connected his stationary bike to his laptop and TV. Then, he created a computer program that made Netflix work only if he pedaled at a certain speed. By using temptation in this way, exercising became more enjoyable for him. How did this work? It's simple. Connect the action you need to do with the action you want to do. This method is called temptation bundling and applies a psychological theory known as Premack's principle. This principle essentially states that you are more likely to perform a less desirable activity if it is linked to a more desirable one. To make habits attractive or favorable, pair them with something you enjoy. For instance, if you enjoy listening to audiobooks but need to work out, only listen to your favorite audiobook while exercising. This makes the less desirable activity, working out, more appealing because it's paired with something you enjoy, listening to an audiobook. This technique works because it combines immediate gratification with long-term benefits, making the habit more irresistible. By making the necessary actions attractive, you're more likely to stick with them, creating a sustainable habit that doesn't feel like a chore. The role of family and friends in shaping your habits. We don't choose our first habits. We imitate them. We follow our family and friends, our church, our school, our local community, and society at large. Every culture and group has its own set of standards that influence our habits. We unknowingly imitate those close to us, picking up their habits. We copy our parents and try to handle arguments and fights the way they do. We even imitate our coworkers. It's a well-known rule that if you are close to someone, you are likely to copy them. A study found that if one of your friends is obese, your chances of becoming obese increase by 57%, and the same applies in reverse. In a way, our friends and family act as invisible peer pressure. We tend to go in the same direction they do. Of course, peer pressure is only harmful when it leads to negative influences. Therefore, the best thing you can do is join a culture where your good habits are welcomed and encouraged. Surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you aspire to develop will make it easier for you to adopt those habits. Your environment, including your social circles, plays a crucial role in shaping your behavior. Being part of a supportive community can reinforce positive habits and make it more likely for you to stick with them. How to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. You can make any hard habit easier by linking it to a positive mindset. We often say things like, "I have to do this," or "I have to do that." But what if we simply changed one word? Instead of saying, "I have to get up to go to work," say, "I get to get up to go to work." By simply changing the words, you change your entire perspective. This way, you highlight the benefits of your habit rather than the setbacks and disadvantages. The secret to finding and fixing the causes of your bad habits is to reframe the association you have with them. By thinking about them differently, you can turn any hard habit into an enjoyable one. For example, if you dislike exercising, instead of thinking, "I have to exercise," think, "I get to exercise and improve my health." This subtle shift in language emphasizes the positive outcomes rather than the effort involved. This reframing can make a significant difference in how you perceive and approach your habits. By focusing on the benefits and positive aspects, you can transform your mindset and make it easier to stick with good habits. This approach helps you to appreciate the advantages of your actions, making them more appealing and sustainable in the long run. The third law: make it easy. Walk slowly, but never backward. Forming a habit is a process in which a behavior, through repetition, becomes an automatic reflex. Habit repetition brings about clear physical changes in the brain. For example, the cerebellum part of musicians' brains is larger compared to non-musicians. Each time you repeat an action, you activate a specific neural circuit associated with that habit. The time it takes to form a habit doesn't matter as much. Time has never been the problem. What matters is the rate at which you perform a certain behavior. Whether you do something twice in 40 days or 200 times, it's not about the duration, but the frequency. To create any habit, you need to practice it consistently. The key to making habits easier is to focus on small, manageable steps. The goal is to reduce the friction associated with starting a new habit. For instance, if you want to start exercising, begin with just a few minutes a day rather than committing to an hour-long workout. Gradually increase the time as the habit becomes more ingrained. By making habits easy and reducing the barriers to starting them, you increase the likelihood of sticking with them. Simplify the process and break down the habit into smaller steps to make it more achievable. Remember, progress may be slow, but as long as you're moving forward and not backward, you're on the right track. Consistent, small steps will eventually lead to significant changes. The law of least effort. Energy is valuable,